Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to tell you a gentle, classic tale. A story about courage, hope, and finding light in the darkest places. So sit back, relax, and let's begin. Once upon a time, there lived a brother and sister in a small wooden hut. On the edge of a deep, dark forest, they lived with their father, a poor woodcutter, and their stepmother, who was cold, unkind, and never happy with them. Food was always scarce. Every day felt like a struggle, and the stepmother believed the children were the reason for all their troubles. One night, she whispered to the father, "We cannot feed them anymore. Tomorrow, and we will take them into the forest and leave them there." Hansel, the brother, was still awake. He heard everything, every single word, quietly. He slipped out of the house and filled his pockets with shiny little stones that glowed under the moonlight. The next morning, the stepmother forced the children to follow them into the forest. As they walked deeper and deeper, Hansel kept dropping, one shiny stone at a time, leaving a trail back to their home. At the heart of the forest, the stepmother said, "Wait here. We will return soon." But the sun went down, the sky turned dark, and no one returned. Gretel trembled in fear. Hansel held her hand and said, "Don't worry. When the moon rises, the stones will shine. We will find our way home." And they did, step by step, following the glowing path, until they finally reached their little hut. Their father embraced them tightly. He cried and promised he would never leave them again. But the peace didn't last long. A few days later, the father went to town to fix his axe. The children were left alone again with their stepmother. She smiled a cruel smile and said, "Children, we are going for a picnic today." Hansel understood her plan. This time he hid a small piece of bread inside his pocket. As they walked into the forest, he dropped tiny crumbs behind them. But the forest was full of birds, and by morning every breadcrumb was gone. The children were lost, cold, hungry, alone. After wandering for hours, they saw something unbelievable. A house, a strange house, a house made of gingerbread and chocolate and candy. Starving, they broke off small pieces and began to eat. Suddenly, an old woman stepped outside. She smiled sweetly and said, "Oh, dear children, come in. I will give you warm milk and a safe place to rest." But the house was a trap, and the old woman was a witch. She locked Hansel in a cage and forced Gretel to work. Every day she checked Hansel's finger to see if he had gained weight. But Hansel was clever. He gave her a chicken bone instead. Still, the witch grew impatient. One morning she shouted, "Enough! Today the boy will be cooked." She lit a huge fire and told Gretel to check if the pot was ready. Gretel's heart raced, but her mind stayed calm. She whispered to herself, "This is my moment." She pretended not to understand. "I don't know how to look inside," she said softly. The witch growled, "Foolish child, let me show you." She bent over the pot, and in that moment, Gretel pushed her with all her strength. The witch fell inside, the lid slammed shut, and the house fell silent. Gretel rushed to Hansel and opened the cage. The children hugged each other tightly and cried in relief. Inside the witch's house, they found a chest full of gold, enough to save their father and their future. They walked for a long time until they finally saw their home. Their father ran to them, tears in his eyes. He said, "My children, I am so grateful you returned. Your stepmother is gone. You will never suffer again." And from that day forward, with the gold they had found, they lived a life full of peace, warmth, and love. Thank you for listening. Take a deep breath. And remember this, even in the darkest forest, there is always a path that leads back to light.